Hey, what's up guys, Hinkgo here. Figured I'd drop a Devastation Evoker guide because at first glance it looks complicated, but after messing around with it a little bit, it kind of makes sense and it fits in. But I'll go ahead and drop this talent tree down in the description below. I'm not really going to talk about the talents too much, but generally it's a nice easy build to get you going as you level up. And late game I'm sure there's going to be slightly different variations of this, but for now, let's just get into it. So to break it down super easy, let's just talk about single target versus AoE. Your single target abilities was pretty much Disintegrate, which you see here is a channel. You'll want to use Eternity Surge on cooldown. And obviously depending on the target, if it's single target, you can just use it once. 30-second cooldown. And then, we'll talk about this in a moment, but you'll want to use this on cooldown as well. And then you'll pretty much cast Living Flame. Kind of in that order. Also, just so you know, Living Flame is your heal. Once again, Disintegrate into an Eternity Surge, Fire Breath into a Living Flame. So your Fire Breath. Both the Fire Breath and Eternity Surge have little essence, what do you call them? I don't know, upgrades. You can do different things with it. You got a tier 1 through tier 4 for this one. And generally, the more enemies, let's say you have 2, 4, 6, you want to hold it for as long as however many enemies you have. With Fire Breath, it's slightly different. So 1 through 4 I have here. And in my opinion, if you want to do like a big trash pack and you want to knock them out quick, you want to hold it for longer. Because it's going to do the burst damage up front with a slow dot at the end. Now, if you want to fight for a long fight, a boss fight or whatever, I just usually hold it for a second. And then shoot. It's weird using it for my mouse on this. For some reason, clicking it doesn't let it do it. I don't know why. But I usually let it go for the 1. So you see the timer's a little bit longer, which means you could just not worry about that at all and continue your rotation after that. This is a 30-second cooldown. The first tier gives you 24 seconds. That's 6 seconds that you won't have it, but overall it's not that bad. Plus, through my talents, you get free procs like this and stuff. Back to free procs of this, which you see here, they're not taking any of your essence. But once you use it, without the proc, you see your essence goes away. You'll notice this thing's stacking up as well, through my talents as well. This will eventually stack up to 20, which just does more damage. I go ahead and throw that out there as soon as the damage is increased at 20 at single target. Or if you know it's about to die, might as well throw it off anyway. Now for your AoE rotation, it's kind of similar, except you won't use Disintegrate. That's like the only difference. You'll use Pyre. So instead of spending, I got 3 essence here, you'll spend 2 essence. You just literally lob it out. Super easy. That's your AoE. As much essence as you have, you can keep lobbing stuff. And through talents, once again, let's say there's a few there. We'll go ahead and hold this for a second. Boom, boom. Got a couple targets. We'll just do 3. And the 3 here damages up to 6 enemies. So there was 4, so I could have only held it for 2. So you gotta kind of get a feel of it. If you want to hold it for 2, it's just less time you gotta be wasting on it. But through talents, every blue spell that I use, for example this, we'll talk about this in a second, you see it stacking up. Eventually you get up to 20, you can just blast it. But I usually use this on cooldown for AoEs. Now, if you have this on cooldown, and then this on cooldown, similar to what I was saying before, you want to hold it longer if you want to burst the trash down. Usually AoE, I want the harder burst for the trash. But instead of using Living Flame, you kind of want to use Azure Strike. So this is basically just, it projectile 25 yards. You're slamming things in, hitting 3 targets at once. Super easy. And then once you get this off cooldown again, you just keep pressing it. That's all you do for AoE basically. Keep this on cooldown. Keep this on cooldown. And keep this on cooldown. And just keep pressing this. That's all you really do. Once again, single target, Disintegrate into Eternity Surge, Fire Breath, depending on if you want it longer or shorter. I usually go for longer for single targets, into Living Flame. For AoE, it's Pyre into Eternity Surge, depending on how many numbers you got, hold it longer, into a Fire Breath, into your Azure Strike. That's the basic rotation. Some damage cooldowns that you have Tip the Scales, which is going to make your next Empowered spell, either or, instant and be at max. So if you want to press this, you can go ahead and come out here, boom, max on all these things, instant dot. Easy. A couple other cooldowns you have Deep Breath, which basically is just a big line. You do a ton of damage. Through talents, you can increase your other damage while using this, but I don't think I took those. And pretty much just want this on cooldown. I think if you want to burst or if you want to save it for a burst, just don't use it like, I mean, it's good to use all the time, I think. I use it all the time anyway. But you could save it if you needed a big damage phase, is what I guess I'm saying. Similar to this is also a burst one. It says, erupts with a Draconic Fury and Excel 3 pyres at enemies within 25 yards for 14 seconds. Essence burst chance to occur has increased to 100%. So, in essence, this thing's going to give you a ton of procs. So you go ahead and press it, boom. And now every time you get an Essence burst, which I'll show you in a second, let's go ahead and cast, boom, Essence burst. And there's a big chance, see I got it again, just basically free damage at this point. And that'll last while that's going up. Landslide is basically just, it says conjures a shifting stone towards the target location, rooting enemies. It's basically your root, I guess. But I don't use it too often. I guess this maybe could be more of a PvE thing, or PvP thing, perhaps. Similar to this, actually. I didn't mention it, but it also removes all your roots on you. So you could use those in PvE, PvP, whatever. Some other abilities, which are pretty cool. You got your kick, which is Quell. You've got hover, which actually is pretty cool movement speed. So you can just press it twice if you want. But the benefit is you have for however much time through talents you can increase it. You're able to actually channel while moving, which is really nice. So I got 9 seconds. I can just keep casting while moving. So if you need to get out of the fire, get out of the bad, if you just need to run away from somebody in PvP, go ahead and pop your hover. You'll gain movement speed and you're casting while moving, which is super nice. Another cool thing too, if you have an ally in your team, you can actually just swoop. I don't know if it'll let me swoop to any of these guys. But basically, if you have an ally in your team, you're able to swoop right to them, which is huge. You can see it's like 30 yards or something like that, 30-yard range. It's pretty good. It says swoop to an ally, fly to them, and to the target location. It'll get you out of bad stuff, which is just pretty fun. Other abilities you have Expunge, which removes poisons and toxins. Pretty nice to have, something extra. This also is a movement ability. Let's see if I can do it on that. Actually, can I do this on that guy? Nope. I'm going to be able to do this on this guy. Basically, it's another. You can use this as a movement, which is nice, but it's also a heal. And what's cool as well, you can use this on yourself. So if you don't have anyone targeted, you can just heal yourself with it. Similar to this. This is a heal that you can target on a guy, or you could target on yourself if you want. Super easy. Another thing is you got Soar, which we'll talk about in a second. This is your Fury of the Aspects, basically a big haste buff, similar to Bloodlust, Heroism, Time Warp, etc. So you have it too now, which is awesome. By the way, here's the heal for yourself. Boom. Free heals. Also, obviously, I mentioned before, Living Flame. Those are your 3 heals. Anyway, Bloodlust. Sweet, right? Awesome. A couple other cooldowns you have a Tail Swipe, which basically knocks people up in the air. You can use it as an interrupt. If you need to get away, you can knock them out. And I didn't mention this, but hover actually works in the direction you go. So if you're walking this way and you hover, you'll hover that way. But if you're like moving sideways or backwards, you can actually hover that direction too. And Wing Buffet, just basically knock back, boom. Could use it as an interrupt if you want. Some of your defensives, Renewing Blaze. You can choose different things for talents and upgrade them and stuff. Renewing Blaze, it says flames of life surround you for 8 seconds while this effect is active. 100% of the damage you take is healed back over 8 seconds. So if you're dying or if you need a heal or if there's a big damage about to come, you're basically going to get healed back whatever you took. You have a couple charges through talents of the Obsidian Scales. Reinforce your scales, reducing damage taken by 30% for 12 seconds. And that's in essence. I'll go ahead and do Soar real quick. It's pretty sweet. If you haven't seen it yet, which I'm sure you know. This is part of your training. You can soar, you can dive down. As you dive down, you get more speed to go up. If you need more, you can just press. You got a couple of these, 1 of these and 2 of these. This will shoot you straight up. See, I'm lowering my speed. If you want more speed, just go down. You'll see the wind effect, and you can go back up. And if you need to go further, you can just do this. This is basically dragon riding. I haven't messed with dragon riding yet, but I hear it's very similar. So that's pretty much soaring. It's really awesome. It's cool that you can have all these movement abilities too, which is really nice. Oh, I forgot to mention, you have a slow fall basically. Glide, wings, whatever you want to call it. Let's see how much the range of this is. This is a huge 25 yards range. This is a huge movement speed. I must have clicked the pet instead. I thought I clicked the guy. But anyway, a lot of movement speeds, a lot of upgrades and stuff. Overall, really cool class. Main stat is intellect, and then your mastery is very beneficial. It says increase the damage of your spells by up to 67% based on the health. So pretty much every start of a fight, you're going to be bursting people down. It says during Deep Breath here and Dragon Rage, you gain the maximum benefit of your Mastery Giant Killer regardless of the Tiger's health. So Deep Breath and Dragon Rage are these two right here, your big damage cooldowns. So no matter what, you're going to get the huge Mastery benefit from these. I wouldn't say Haste isn't bad. I'd probably go Mastery and Crit, Mastery and Crit for my stats, at least for now. I find them pretty beneficial. Obviously the class just came out, so we'll get to know these characters and classes a little bit better later on. But in essence, quick recap for you. Single target, Disintegrate, Eternity Surge, Fire Breath, into Living Flame. AoE is Pyre, Eternity Surge, Fire Breath, Azure Strike. That's basically it. Big damage cooldowns, Dragon Rage, Deep Breath. Everything else is pretty much the same as always with your classes, but that's it for this guide. I hope I was able to help anyone out, and I'll have to check out the healing side next, which is pretty fun. All right, catch you later.